People nowadays are always talking about feminism and how everyone should advocate it. It's everywhere, from social media to protests in the street. It's unavoidable. I personally believe that gender inequality is a major issue in society, and it needs to be fixed. I support feminism with all my heart. But sometimes, people take it way too far. I go to a small school where everyone knows each other pretty well, and we always help each other out. It's not a fancy school, and they don't have a lot of money. So our theater teacher is also our debate teacher and speech teacher. She is a pretty lively teacher, and she always expresses her views on things loudly. As a student in her debate class, I always feel annoyed by my teacher's strong political views on controversial topics and her inability to teach debate properly due to her lack of experience and knowledge. But then last year, I was in her theater class, and it was an amazing experience overall. Although she pretty much sucked as a debate teacher, she was a great theater teacher. And as theater had nothing to do with current events, the teacher never talked about it during class. The theater kids never complained about the teacher's strong political views or any of her opinions. Until March 8th, National Women's Day came along. It was a seemingly regular day to me. Most of the passionate feminists at our school were really hyped up about it, but I didn't pay any attention to it. I was busy thinking about how I was going to spend spring break anyways, and I assumed that the theater teacher was just going to let us do whatever we wanted. But apparently, she had different plans for the class today. She excitedly announced to the class that she was going to let us girls in the class dress up the boys in makeup and dresses. Afterwards, she said she was going to take pictures of all the boys and upload them to social media in honor of National Women's Day. I was a little freaked out about this, but the other girls, mostly the extreme feminists, were on board with the idea, and they squealed with delight as they gave the boys frilly pink princess dresses and covered their faces in makeup. The boys were horrified and not one bit happy about this. They were all refusing, but no one really listened to them. Boys' faces were covered in tons of makeup, concealer, blush, lipstick, eyeliner, you name it. Some girls were considerate enough to let the boys choose what to wear and what makeup they wanted. But that was sadly the minority of the class. It was a disaster. The boys had only heard stories on how extreme our teacher's beliefs and opinions are from the debate kids, and this was their first time experiencing the full force of it. A lot of guys ended up hiding in the restroom, which was across the hall from the theater classroom. Some guys even started to cry because they were so distraught about how they weren't allowed to say no. I thought this has gone way too far. Surely the teacher will put a stop to all of this. But to my horror, she burst straight into the boys' restroom and forced them to get out. The boys came back into the classroom with sunken looks. They continued to refuse to put on makeup or dresses. The teacher began yelling very loudly. Not even the debate kids had seen her yell like this before, which was saying a lot, and screaming that the boys had broke her. Then, she said that everyone, including the girls, had to write a 10-page essay on the meaning of theater to hand in right after spring break. Everyone was outraged. She didn't understand that she was humiliating these poor boys in front of us, and some girls were taking delight in seeing them suffer. After about 30 minutes of silence, the teacher finally seemed to calm down and said the girls didn't have to do the essay, and some of the boys, her favorites probably, didn't have to either. But not a single apology came out of her for her irrational behavior and outrage. Since the majority of the boys still had to do this essay, a lot of students banded together afterwards and went to tell the new principal. The principal said that the students wouldn't receive any administrative punishment, and she would call the teacher in for a word to let her know that this incident went too far. Me sharing this story isn't to hate on feminism in any way, but humiliating boys and taking advantage of them? This shouldn't be what feminism is about. Like most things, feminism is good, but not when it gets out of control. Our society has become blinded by the idea of equality and the ideal version of how the world should be, to the point that sometimes they don't see how extreme they are being. And that extremity, sadly, is causing even more problems than before.